What's up, everybody? It's Yvonne with Trouts Fly Fishing, here to talk to you about your bi-weekly fishing report and forecast. We're back on the truck. It's not as hot out today. Camera can get with it. I can get with it. Got a little storm about to roll through, so we're getting sort of that classic end of summer August weather, and I think fishing is sort of corresponding with that. When you talk about whether you're talking about our tailwaters or our freestones, over the last week we've seen most of them drop, and some of them drop quite a bit. Some of them above average, about average, or a little bit below average, but not everything is just like boom, way above average, big bugs, all that stuff. We're sort of getting into what I would consider the dog days of summer. Good fishing obviously still there to be had, but it means you're going to be sizing down your bugs in your tailwaters for your smaller tricos, blueing olives, even midges and stuff like that are going to become more prevalent, or you're going to be using the biggest foam bug you have in your box. So it's feast or famine in terms of the size of the bugs you're fishing, but there's still really good fishing to be had. So hopper dropper fishing on the Colorado, the Eagle, the Arkansas, still sort of the way to go. You can also throw double dries, and then on the tailwaters, starting to get a little bit more technical, sizing down your tippet, getting back to those smaller bugs, but also mixing in some bigger attractors and stuff like that. So I think this year, more than any other year, we've seen sort of that delay of about 2 or 3 weeks from what would normally be happening. And normally when we get into August is sort of what I consider to be this sort of feast or famine period, where you get you're either throwing big bugs or you're throwing really small bugs, and we're just a little bit delayed with that, so we're getting into that in the end of August. One thing I will say is that I looked at weather for the next couple weeks, and up in Vail, we're actually starting to see those overnight lows get down into the 30s, low 40s, and the highs are going to be in the 60s, low 70s at the highest. So into September, we're going to start seeing a cooling trend, and bluing olives are going to start to play a bigger role subsurface, and then eventually start to be sort of the bug of choice up top, especially on those cloudy days. So I think the sort of classic dog days of summer portion of the year are here, and it's not going to last nearly as long as it usually does, because we sort of have that condensed season. So yeah, fishing's still good. Just got to play a little bit different, So let's talk about tailwaters. Deckers, 11 Mile, and Cheeseman. So Deckers is slightly above average. I think that's like just dropping today. So as of the recording of this, 397. 11 Mile is 100, and the Dream's below average at 137. Tricos are sort of your main hatch for the time being. I know that bluing olives, leeches, worms, midges are still playing a big role, but in terms of that's all subsurface. But in terms of up top, it's either going to be hoppers through the canyon into Deckers, or throwing those small Tricos. So with that in mind, be prepared for either your bigger bugs with a stout leader, or throwing a long leader, and smaller tippet, smaller flies, and looking for those risers in the morning and even into the afternoon. So fishing's remained good. It tends to be right now like either early morning or into the evening. So the middle of the day is a little bit slower than we're seeing through the sort of lower sun periods of the day, and that's goes hand in hand with seeing the low starting to get a little bit lower water, and sort of getting into those dog days of summer sort of vibe. So that's the deal on Deckers and Cheeseman. Same thing for 11 Mile, and with the Dream, it's pretty much in the same boat. So big foam flies through the riffles, but then Tricos are still sort of your main hatch up top, and then figuring out whether it's going to be like a leech to a bluing olive to a Trico, or like a small attractor to a Trico to a small midge or something like that. That's sort of where you're playing with the nymphs. You can certainly still catch them on bigger flies, but we're starting to see it get a little bit more technical, start to size down your tippet as those flows come down. So when it comes to the freestones, I know that Colorado actually dropped below average, which is super weird. I'm sure that has to do with upstream flows and what's coming out of some of the upstream reservoirs. So the Colorado's a little bit down, but the Eagle's still higher than normal. The Arkansas is a little bit lower than normal, and the Roaring Fork is still above average as well. So sort of a mixed bag there. It is hopper dropper season on all those rivers. So hippie stomper, big chubby, PMX, parachute hoppers, whatever you want to hold your bugs up with, will be sort of your point fly, and then dropping 2 flies below that. This is the time of year I would really like to throw like a big midge, like a size 16, 14 zebra midge. And then otherwise you're just throwing like hot belly PTs, some caddis imitations, and stuff like that. So it's still, the bug choice isn't crazy hard on the freestones. It's mostly about presentation and drift. I mean, you can say that about every fishery, but for the most part, keeping it simple is the way to go. And as always, streamers will continue to produce, especially on those cloudy days, especially as we get towards the end of summer and into winter, or into the fall, and those water temps start to drop, and fish start to activate a little bit more and get ready for the feed. So definitely an early morning game, late evening game, low sun. That's when you're going to get the sort of the best fishing a lot of those times, especially on some of those freestones and stuff like that. But yeah, fishing's still good. This has been quite a summer. It's not done yet, so come on into the shop, pick up some flies, and we'll see you out on the water. Have a good one.